What's up, guys? In today's episode, we're just gonna wing it, and I'm just gonna talk about whatever comes to mind. Stay tuned. What is up, you guys? It's your boy, Louie Torres, and, this episode, I'm not really going to necessarily point anything out, any gear or anything, although I do have my Fortin Cali on with my VFE Standout ready to go. So, it's funny. So earlier today, I was just on Facebook in one of the groups, and these two guys who actually write together, right? These two guitarists, they were just going over the fact that they had finished one song and that it took them about 4 weeks to kind of get it absolutely perfect where they're both happy. And how they were like, good, we're done with that one. Onward to the next. And I was just like, bro, it took you 4 weeks to get one song. And I get that. They had like a synthesizer in there. They had swells. They had, they incorporated a lot of different vibes, if you will, to it. They had a violin kind of section, and everything was absolutely awesome. But, that for me, I'm just like, I don't have 4 weeks to write a song. But the funny thing is that they complained at the end on how frustrated they had been that entire time and how they're hugely alleviated at the fact that everything is over, but they're going to do more. And I'm just like, dude, I would just give up. That would just be me. I'd be like, I don't even, as is, I barely practice. For all of you guys that sit back and you're like, you're a terrible guitarist. I don't practice. And I haven't practiced. And I just don't have the time to practice. I barely have time to make these episodes. But with that, I feel like a lot of you guys put the time in. You are OCD, dude, at another level of the game where a song will be absolutely perfect. And I appreciate that. I appreciate because that's kind of the same effort that I put into my photography is I have to make sure that I'm making people laugh. I'm capturing the right images at the right time. So I OCD on something completely different. That's just my livelihood. And it's literally, and this is another complaint that people, tell me. They're just like, dude, you're a terrible guitarist. Why aren't you any better? And I'm just like, you can only focus on so many things, right? So, my as a kid, my number one goal was to become a professional photographer. Like I wanted to become a professional photographer at all costs. And my first jobs were in the early 1990s. That's kind of when I turned pro. But in reality, being a professional photographer is really when that's all you do and you do it as a livelihood. And I've been doing that for the last 16 years. So to me, my goal was never to become this gifted, talented guitarist, musician. Like I just did something else. And so I'll talk to guys and I'm just like, well, how do you go about becoming this incredible guitarist that you are today, right? So, one of my boys is Dan Sugarman, who was in, he actually just left, Ice Nine, Ice Nine, whatever. So, talking to him, I'm like, bro, when you started playing, how many hours would you practice? He's like, I don't know, 12, 14 hours. I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, dude, I forgot what it was. Maybe he was 16 and he ended up getting like carpal tunnel and he had to wear a brace for a while. And I'm just like, in your teens? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, that's how many hours I used to just constantly practice. But that's why Dan Sugarman is a beast and an incredible guitarist, and why he's endorsed by Kiesel Guitars and, you know, is touring the entire United States and Europe, you know. So, you know, when you take things to that level, you know, you're bound to become absolutely incredible. So, you know, in talking to different guitarists, you know, some guys are kind of gifted, if you will, where they only need 15, 20 minutes of practice time, and they just, you know, whatever they're practicing, it just gets stored in their minds and it's there. So, you know, almost like a, you know, like they have this super advanced memory where they can retain 2 full scales after 30 minutes. And I'm just like, yo, I'm not like that. My boy Jeff Centra's like that. What's up, Jeff? You know, I've known Jeff since I was a kid, and he's actually the guitar teacher that I had as an adult. Once I started playing again, you know, I reached out, you know, I forgot how we kind of came across again on Facebook. And all of a sudden he's just like, okay, we're going to get you to become a better guitarist. And the things that I can randomly play now is literally because of Jeff. And that actually is just in the last 5 years, which is crazy. But you know, I know guitarists that have been playing for 5 years, and dude, they're absolutely incredible and they're amazing. So, so how do you guys go about practicing? For me, it's literally just what I do when I'm playing. You know, it's just me dabbling, and sometimes, you know, I kind of have my own little ridiculous, dumb scale, if you will. And it's just, you know, things that I'm just stuck in. And, you know, I try to make it sound okay. It sounds kind of more terrible than anything else. But then I try to incorporate, you know, little things also. So let's get this guy up and running a little bit. So when I practice, this is literally what I do. And I'm not just chugging, right? But little things like, and then I'll do, you know, the hardest thing for me is always, you know, how do you go up the fretboard? How do you go back down the fretboard? So, I'll do like these little kind of hammer on. And then I'll do little things, like I got this from Sean. I don't know. I'm like a little kid. Like I just love that little... And then I love like hammer-ons. To me, I don't know, literally since I was a little kid, I would always be like... And that's also because Javier, who is the guitarist of Merauder, that's all he ever did. And he's just like, bro, just practice these. Or, you know, or anything along those lines. And then the whole galloping, dude, I've been galloping since I was about 15. Like everything, one thing that Javier, that Saab from Merauder always said, he's like, bro, picking is everything. And that's kind of what, he was never a good lead guitarist at all. But he was a great, rhythm guitarist. He could write like an absolute monster. And one thing he always said is, if you're not going to write leads, then you better be really good at your picking hand. So, I'm talking about the 80s, and it's me and him in his bedroom, and he's just like... And I forgot which Metallica song it was. He's like, listen to the galloping on there. Is it Creeping Death, maybe? All right, I'm tuned down to C sharp, but you get it. So there were a few Metallica songs, and he's just like, dude, if you don't want to bother playing leads and trying to figure out how to practice that, he's just like, I don't, but just make sure you're a really good rhythm guitarist more than anything else. And I think I'm kind of like a decent rhythm guitarist. Like, I remember joining this one band in the early 90s, and something happened with the guitarist on stage, and I was just like, do you want me to help you? And he's like, can you? And I was like, yeah. People kind of knew who I was already. And I went on stage, and I grabbed the guitarist's guitar. So I'm doing that, and I'm also adjusting, like I'm tuning the guitar, making sure it sounds okay. I'm trying to get, at least a great chugging kind of tone. And this is probably going back to 1991. And like at the end of the show, they're just like, we have just one guitarist. Do you want to join our band? And I ended up joining their band, and that was actually a lot of fun. And we played tons of shows everywhere. We opened up for like Biohazard and a bunch of other big bands like Life of Agony. And that was fun. But we're kids. If you've ever heard, Google Bug Out Society. That's the first band that I ever opened up for in ABC No Rio in 1988, I think is what it was. And dude, I love having had all that experience. And sometimes I'll talk to some guys and I'm just like, yo, how many shows have you played? And they're like, one. Super talented guitarist, and I'm just like, one. I'm like, yo, you need to actually play out. But I guess this whole new generation isn't necessarily about playing, shows, but, there's nothing wrong with that if you come up with songs that are just absolutely mind-boggling brutal. And I think that's absolutely awesome, So I think a lot of guys end up getting that experience, which is kind of like the online excitement, the online fans that are just like, this guy is super talented, but he just can't find a drummer, a bass player, a singer, so he's an instrumentalist, and then just writes everything by themselves, and, this music sounds great, they just never played out. But that's just how it is now, especially during this whole COVID craziness, so... So that's literally the extent of me just practicing. I literally just dabble yabble. I have no idea what I'm doing. Meh, meh. You know, are you shocked? And that, all of that I couldn't play 5 years ago. Shout out to my boy, Jeff Centra. He was just like, bro, this is how we're gonna start. Hold on. It was literally like this. So, and then it was reversed, right? And I couldn't do that. I legit started, just really slow. And now I'm just a little faster and a little better. And to me, that I'm happy. Keep in mind that for years, since the 80s, I couldn't do any of that at all. So I'm happy, and what's life if it isn't the goal to just be happy? Your level of happiness may be like, I must sound like Yngwie, or Steve Vai, or Dan Sugarman. And I sit back and I'm just like, happy, thrilled, beyond content. You know, so when someone writes something negative, I laugh. I'm just like, yo, you know, is my happiness based on where you think I should be? So don't ever, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's the kids, whether it's the spouse, what the girlfriend, the boyfriend, you know, regardless of what it is, like, yo, just find happiness and find you. Make sure that you're content and no one can take that away, you know? So I sit back, and when people complain, I'm just like, yo, you sound like a little kid complaining because your mom didn't buy you the cookies that you asked for. And it's just like, you complain more than little kids do in the 2nd grade. So try not to complain, you know, like, yo, just be happy. And if my channel makes you angry, then change it. That's what I do. See a stupid show on TV. This is stupid. Click. But look at this gorgeous face. Like, yo, how could you not want to just chill and just hang out with me and just be like, let me take my guitar out and hang out with Louie Patootie. Yes, I did just say Patootie, so. I'm happy, and you should be too. Guys, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me tonight. Stay tuned, because again, early next week, yo, truck driver Sean is driving over to New York, and he's gonna chill and hang out, and we're just gonna mac over here and play a few amps. He's gonna bring a few pedals that I've never used. I have a bunch of pedals that I just got that he's never used, so we're just gonna go back and forth. And guys, thank you so much. You know, I appreciate you. And as usual, this guy will talk to you soon.